Okie dokie. So, today what we're going to be covering is we're going to end World War I. We're going to finish up with that. We're going to talk about the treaty and all that stuff. We're going to show a few video clips regarding just the war in and of itself, because if I don't, then you guys will have a mutiny, because you guys really want to see that. At which point we'll spend the last part of class today grading essays. What I mean by that is I need you guys to know what a good, bad, and okay essay looks like, because you need to know what to submit to the AP board, right? So today what we're going to be doing is reading 3 released essays like you guys did for the essay that you guys wrote. And we're just going to see what they did right. That way you guys have a good idea of what to look for when you guys are writing your next essay. So today, at the very end, we'll spend the last half hour or so just working on essay prep. So let's go and move forward here. We were on the 14 points last time, right? Yeah, we were mentioning this. So the one thing that I want to make sure that we add on this list is New World Order of Peace. That's something that wasn't on the slide 2 days ago. I decided to add that in there. So make sure also that one of Wilson's 14 points also included developing this New World Order of Peace. The basic idea is he wants this international organization that would promote peace. And what international organization would he create to promote peace? The League of Nations. So his New World Order of Peace would be the League of Nations. NATO? Not NATO yet. NATO is not until 1948, 1952. So for now, it's the League of Nations. Good so far? Cool? Good? All right. So this is what Wilson wants. So when Wilson finally does, by the way, let me step back a bit. I forgot to mention this. This is not super critical, but it might be a question that comes up. When Wilson was elected president in 1916, when he was reelected rather, he ran on the platform, he kept us out of war. Does anyone remember the year in which World War I began? No, we started fighting in 1917. 1914, oh my gosh, this pen. 1914 is when World War I began. And in those 2 years, Wilson could have potentially gone to war. But he didn't. So his platform was, re-elect me because in the last 4 years, we haven't gone to war. And so I will keep us out of war if you elect me as President of the United States again. Well, they did. And he won on the platform of he kept us out of war. And then the following year, what did he do? He went to war. So it's not like, oh my God, he tricked us. It's just that things changed in a year. Things got very different very quickly. So he did keep us out of war, but when push came to shove, Wilson ultimately became the president that brought us to war, which I imagine would have made many voters angry, considering this was the president that said, I kept you out of war. He can't really run on that platform again. Anyway, so Wilson arrives in the treaty in Europe to sign the Treaty of Versailles. And when Wilson arrives, he is treated like a god. Because Wilson is the savior of Europe. Wilson is the president that got America to join the war. Wilson is the president that saved Europe. And so at the Treaty of Versailles, you see the meeting of these 4 people. This is known as the Big Four. The Big Four included David Lloyd George of Great Britain, Vittorio Orlando of Italy, George Clemenceau of France, and of course Woodrow Wilson of the United States, who featured here is a very tall man by comparison. So this is the Big Four. Now, yes, other countries did participate, but these were the main 4 people who were going to be negotiating this treaty. Now, who is not featured here? Germany is definitely not featured here. Germany was not allowed to go because Germany lost. So sorry, Germany, you are not welcome. You're going to take whatever we give. Who else is not here, though? Russia is not here. Why isn't Russia present? Because they dropped out of the war. So they said, you're not allowed to win anything, Russia. You dropped out of the war. So even though you fought for maybe 2-3 years, you get nothing from this. So Russia was also not present. So the Treaty of Versailles, featuring the Big Four, Great Britain, Italy, France, and the United States. Cool so far? Okay. All right. So when Wilson showed up, I mean, his whole hope was that he would make sure that all these countries would be willing to agree to what? Everlasting peace. A peace without victory is what he was hoping for. And he believed that, of course, I can do this because we're America and moral diplomacy will reign across the land because it's what's right and it's what's best and it's what's moral. But what's moral and what's right is not necessarily what people want. And so he hopes for this. It's not necessarily what the treaty is going to say. And so here's what the Treaty of Versailles actually states. Okay, the Treaty of Versailles actually states the following. The first, Germany must give up all of its colonies. Now, is that in line with the 14 points? That Germany gives up his colonies? You can say yes and no. It's not a peace without victory, but at least it is what? What else did Wilson want? He wanted democracy. He wanted all these empires to what? Not demilitarize, decolonize. So, I mean, maybe this is kind of what Wilson wanted, decolonization, but actually the answer is no, it's nothing like it. This is not what you think it is, because what happened was that Germany must give up all of its colonies, let me finish that statement, to England and France. And then they would govern the colonies under something called a mandate system. So, did we actually decolonize Africa, Asia? No. We just said Germany doesn't get to have colonies anymore, but we're going to give them to England and France instead. Now, when Wilson said decolonization, did he mean all countries must decolonize? Yes, he did. But that's clearly not what's happening here. He said the Europeans agreed Germany would have to decolonize, but they're not giving those countries independence. They're just giving them to England and France to be in charge of. So everyone good so far with that? That is not decolonization the way you think it is. Secondly, war guilt clause. What did the war guilt clause say? Germany had to accept all the blame. So Germany must accept blame for the war. All the blame for the war. Now, is that fair to say that Germany was responsible for the entire war? Absolutely not. If we remember, there were main causes of World War I. There was militarism. Were all countries in Europe pretty much militarizing? Yes. They all were part of that secret alliance system. They all were empires. They all had extreme nationalism. England, France, they are just as culpable and responsible for World War I as Germany. The difference is Germany lost the war and England and France won the war. So in this situation, they say, Germany, it's all your fault. We did nothing wrong. It was all you. It was all you. You did it, not us. Even though history tells us that's obviously not the case. Third, war reparations. What is the expectation? Germany must pay for the entire war. And in particular, they're going to pay the war debts of England and France. Does anyone know how much that ended up being? Well, what they specifically owed England and France was $53 billion, which is a lot. They owed England and France $53 billion. Now, keep in mind, folks, that's on top of the $58 billion they spent themselves fighting the war. So that's kind of a serious problem. They're going to end up paying over $100 billion. So they have to pay England and France $53 billion. Now here's the other thing. Was Germany's economy affected by the war? Yes. What about their factories? Were their factories destroyed during the war? Farms? So how are you going to pay back a $53 billion debt when your economy is in crisis? It's going to be a serious problem, isn't it? And might this lead to World War II? Most definitely. It's a direct cause. Now, a plus side of the Treaty of Versailles was we did get the League of Nations. So hooray, we did get that. And Wilson is pretty happy about the League of Nations being included. Because up to this point, did we get any of his 14 points here? None. None of them are here. But the League of Nations is there, and that's okay because really, that was the most important one. So here's what the League of Nations said. Yellow. Sure. So the League of Nations, if you were a member, required that you had to go to war if a fellow country was under attack. So let's assume that all of us here are part of the League of Nations. And when Raylene leaves the door, she's attacked, by Mr. Lane. What are we compelled to do as members of the League of Nations? We have to go to war and help her. Can we say, I don't really want to, not today? Are we allowed to say that? No, we have to go to war. We're compelled. So just in case, Raylene, let us know. We'll make sure. She's okay? She's good? All right, just checking out. Okay, so the basic argument is that we are required to help. So this is a problem for some people because do individual countries now have a choice? No. But Wilson argued it's good that they don't have a choice because they can't then say, maybe I won't go to war this time. He said by requiring all countries to go to war, it created collective security. If you go to war with one of us, then you're what? You're going to war with all of us. And if people knew that every single student in this classroom was part of the League of Nations, would any other students consider attacking them? No, because you think you're only attacking one until you find out that student's wearing a League of Nations badge. Oh, I didn't realize you were part of the League. That's like 300 other people I'm going to war with. I don't want to deal with that. So according to Wilson, does he believe that this is going to prevent war? Because might aggressor countries be afraid of attacking other countries? Maybe if, Costa Rica was all by itself, sure, we might feel compelled to act. But now that Costa Rica is part of the League of Nations, might, let's say, Honduras be less willing to attack Costa Rica? Sure. Because, folks, the whole point was to bring the nations of the world together to ensure peace and security. Bring the nations of the world together to ensure peace and security. And the only way this works, folks, is if you require that all countries go to war. Would this work if countries could choose not to go to war? No, because would America choose to fight in every single war in the world? Definitely not. We'd be like, maybe not that one. I don't really care about that war so much. I don't really like that guy anyway. I'm okay. I'm not going to fight that war. But no, if everyone's required to fight, then that means everyone's always going to go to war, which means aggressor nations are less likely to go to war. So the whole point is it's supposed to create peace. That's the idea. Good so far?
League of Nations person
attacks another League of Nations. So what happens if a member nation attacks a member nation? Who attacked first? If you attacked another member, you are the aggressor nation. We all go to war against you. So that's how it works out. If you're the aggressor nation, then you're the one at fault. You're supposed to come to a peace agreement. You're supposed to be able to negotiate these things. But if you choose first to attack, then you are the one at fault. You are the aggressor. You are the one we're going to attack. That's how that works. In any case, folks, here's kind of how the League of Nations ends up looking like. Here they are, League of Nationing. It's good times.
Isn't it still a thing today?
Well, the League of Nations today no longer exists. United Nations includes like almost every country in the world. So there's 150, 200? I don't remember. I always forget. Anyway, there's a lot of countries. And it's similar to this, but it's more like a half circle dome, almost stadium seating. Here it's not so much. Anyway, you don't have to write this down so much, but we were talking about decolonization. That kind of did happen. You do see the breakup of the German and Ottoman Empire, the Austria-Hungarian Empire, so that does kind of happen, but not to the extent that you would like. Anyway, so the question is, was there success for Wilson? Did Wilson get what he wanted? So what we're going to do here right now is we're going to go ahead and give Wilson a grade A through F for all of his goals. Are we going to give him an A or an F depending on the task perceived here? So, success for, peace without victory. Did Wilson do that successfully? If we're going to give him a grade, did he successfully achieve peace without victory? Did he get it? No. He actually did not do that. We're going to give him an F for that because how do we know? How do we know he failed here? Yeah, well, England and France clearly won, and Germany clearly lost, right? There are winners and losers, which means there's no peace without victory. It's peace with victors and losers. Did we get freedom of the seas in the Treaty of Versailles? Did it say that anywhere in the treaty? No, so that's going to be an F there. What about secret alliances? Did we get rid of secret alliances? Yes, we did. So that's actually good. Good job, man. Good job, Wilson. Demilitarize. Did we get the countries to demilitarize? No, we did not. That's an F for him. Sorry, dude. You failed at that too. Did we successfully decolonize and promote democracy throughout the world? No, we failed at that too. Man, come on, Wilson. Did he establish League of Nations? Yes, he did. So let's give him an A+ for that. That's pretty good. And was that League of Nations designed to be a new world order of peace? Sure, we'll give him an A for that as well. But the war guilt clause and war reparations, I mean, is that a good thing for Wilson or a bad thing? That's bad. That's Fs for both. So if we had to grade Wilson on his negotiating skills and successes at the Treaty of Versailles, what would we give him? Like an F+, maybe? I mean, I would be hesitant to say even D-. Maybe like a high F, like a 50, 54% maybe. But that's not very good. And the thing is, if you look at it, all the things he did get, this and this, those are really all the same thing, right? That's the League of Nations. He got the one thing, but it was a new world order of peace, and it did eliminate secret alliances, but that's it. Of his 14 points, he got 1. So, not very successful, but Wilson was okay not getting anything else because this was the most important thing to him. The League of Nations was his baby. He thought, if I can get one thing, I hope it's the League of Nations. And he did. So Wilson would see himself as, well, I didn't really want an 100%. I wanted just 50%. So Wilson would say that, this was okay. Anyway, the question now comes down to this. Just because Wilson wants the Treaty of Versailles does not mean America wants the Treaty of Versailles. The problem is, does a president sign treaties? No, he does not. Or she does not in the future. The president does not sign treaties. Who agrees to treaties in the United States? Congress, and specifically the Senate. The Senate is the only body in the U.S. that signs treaties, officially. And so even though Wilson really likes the Treaty of Versailles, is it possible that America still might not sign it? It is possible, because the Senate may not agree.
So, question is like, how many signatures?
Yes, there's 100. And there's 435 in the House.
Do they have to have all of them?
Huh?
Do they all have to agree?
No, 70%.
But they all have to sign it?
As America, we sign it. We don't sign it, every single person. So the showdown in America. Will America ratify the Treaty of Versailles? Ratify meaning what? Pass, approve, whatever. Well, the opposition was led by this man, Henry Cabot Lodge. And Henry Cabot Lodge was a Republican senator who did not like Wilson, who did not like what was going on, and he did not like this Treaty of Versailles. He is a Republican senator. Now, Henry Cabot Lodge especially did not like the Treaty of Versailles, specifically because of the League of Nations. And the specific thing he did not like about the League of Nations was what? That the requirement to go to war. He said this League of Nations is a good idea. The problem is, I don't like this idea of being required to go to war. I mean, what if you signed a treaty with your grocery store saying that, you know what, you can buy whatever groceries you want, but Vaughn's can require you to drink all the spoiled milk if it's about to run out? Would you like to sign that treaty? No, why do I have to buy the spoiled milk? That's a crazy decision. My family should be able to decide when we buy milk when we want. But they said no. He did not like it because he believed that Article X of the League of Nations, the requirement to go to war, that's called Article X, it violated American sovereignty. They said, whose choice should it be to go to war? In America. It should be America's choice. Should some third-party organization be allowed to tell us when we're going to go to war? He said, no, that's an American right. That is an individual country's right. Who are you to tell me when I can and can't go to war? And he said, It takes away Congress's power to declare war. All of a sudden, we don't have a choice? If you go to war, I have to go to war too? I don't think so. I am not okay with that. If Costa Rica goes to war tomorrow, why would I want to go fight for them? I don't care. I have no personal investment in Costa Rica. So why should I care? It takes away Congress's power to declare war. They would argue that it's unconstitutional. They also said it might allow Europe to violate the Monroe Doctrine. How? Well, yeah, I mean, part of it might be that one, let's say Mexico is under attack by Brazil. And so Europe might say, oh no, Mexico is under attack and they're a League of Nations member. Sorry, America, we're going to have to invade and help Mexico out because he's a League. I mean, we don't have a choice. We have to come. And then once the war is over, might England overstay their welcome? Might they be able to now violate the Monroe Doctrine? So they said, is this what we want? England and France looking for excuses to invade Latin America again? I don't know. And then they also said, what about George Washington's farewell address? What did he warn us of? Permanent alliances, because what will permanent alliances do? They might drag us into war. And is this exactly what the League of Nations is going to do? You sign a permanent alliance saying you are always required to go to war. And then we're going to be dragged into many wars. So he's saying George Washington was right. This might have been signed way back when, the 1790s, but it still applies today. Permanent alliances are dangerous. We can't do it. But Henry Cabot Lodge said, look, I'm a reasonable man. I understand the need for international, participation. So what if we introduce an amendment to this treaty? A compromise, if you will. We will amend the treaty, I propose. And in this Lodge amendment that I am willing to compromise, what if America has partial membership to the League of Nations? What would that mean? Exactly. There's no requirement for war. Yes, we're members. We'll participate. We'll go to the discussions. We'll go to the meetings. We'll learn the secret handshake. But no requirement for war. Well, how did Wilson feel about that? No, he doesn't like it. But also think about it this way, folks. If America can choose to go to war or not, does that strengthen or weaken the League of Nations? It weakens it. If, let's say, you're best friends with the U.S. Army, and you tell everyone, guys, the U.S. Army is going to back me up wherever I go. And they have to, right? They have to do it. And then so you go and you individually, you as a person, you decide to go to war with Germany. Hey, Germany, let's go to war. Don't worry, America's got my back. So you call America like, hey, America, I'm going to war now. You ready? They're like, maybe not today. Then you're in trouble. I mean, the reason why this is so critical is America is the most powerful country in the world. Is there any point in doing anything if the most powerful country in the world is not going to participate? No, they have the army, they have the navy, they have the money, they have the technology. If they're not going to join, what's the point? That's like you and your friends all signing a pact saying, all right, guys, we're all going to go to Disneyland on Wednesday. You got it? Everyone is going to Disneyland on Wednesday. Yeah, but your parents don't sign the pact saying that you're going to Disneyland on Wednesday. So you can plan all you want, but when Wednesday comes around, say, so how are we getting there? My parents are going to drive us. So you're going to drive us? No, I'm not going to drive you. So how are you going to get there? What's the point? Yeah, so it's kind of useless to plan if you don't have the most powerful country. Now, there were the people that agreed to this compromise, they were called the reservationists. They were called reservationists. People that agreed to the compromise, that were like, I don't really like the Treaty of Versailles, but I'm willing to compromise. They were called reservationists. They said, I'm willing to sign this, provided that we don't have a requirement for war. They're reservationists. They had some reservations, apprehensions about the treaty. But there was another group that emerged. This was a group called the irreconcilables. Irreconcilables. And what was their opinion of the Treaty of Versailles? They didn't want it at all. They said, no signing at all. These people were pure what? They were pure isolationists. They said, no involvement in international affairs. We got to focus on America. We got to stop signing these silly treaties. We got to break away and focus on us. These irreconcilables, again, were pure isolationists. They were true isolationists. They said no involvement whatsoever. Cool so far? Irreconcilables. Now, here's Article 10. You don't really have to write this down. But again, look, here's the key word. Obligation, which means we have to go to war, right? The whole point of Article 10 is having to go to war. In any case, here's a cartoon featuring the Republican Party and their opinions of the League. There are three elephants saying, hear no good of the League, see no good of the League, speak no good of the League. It's like, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. But instead of monkeys, they're elephants. Tiny, tiny elephants. What does this cartoon suggest about the League of Nations? Yeah. I mean, you know the idea that my hands are tied? No, I can't choose to go to war or not. I'm sorry, my hands are tied. I have no choice. And so the argument here is that the League of Nations will force us to go to war, and will America even have a say in it? No, if we go to war, we go to war, and there's nothing I can do. My hands are tied by the League of Nations. So if Japan or England or foreign nations or European nations decide to go to war, guess what? We have no choice in the matter. I like this one best. Here is America getting married to foreign entanglements, and it said, if any man can show just cause why they may not lawfully be joined together, let him speak now. And then the U.S. Senate does it like, it's unconstitutional. So that's kind of cool. I like that one. Huh? He just jumps through the window and he like stops this marriage as soon as possible. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Also this one, you'll have to take these with it. So the public, they really just want the peace treaty. But what is Woodrow Wilson also saying they need to have? You need to have the requirements for the League and everything else. I'm sorry, but you have to take this as well. So it's like if you go to the grocery store, like, I'd like to buy a battery. Well, we sell them in packs of 20. Well, I want just the one. Okay, well, we sell them in packs of 20. So you can't buy just the one. If you want a battery, you have to buy them in packs of 20. Or like if you're buying hot dogs. I'd like to buy, so you buy a pack of 8 hot dogs. Great, I have 8 hot dogs. I'd like to buy 8 hot dog buns. We sell them in packs of 6. Okay, but I want 8 hot dog buns. Well, we sell them in packs of 6. So if you want to eat your 8 hot dogs, you can always buy another pack of hot dog buns. Well, that'll give me 12 hot dog buns and 8 hot dogs. Then I have too many hot dog buns. Well, then you can buy more hot dogs. Well, then that'll give me 12 hot dog buns and 16 hot dogs. That doesn't help me either. I have way too many hot dogs. Well, then buy another bag of hot dog buns. Well, that gives me 18 and 16. That's still not what I want. I need more buns now. Well, then buy another pack of hot dogs. That's how they get you. They know what they're doing. They know. Anyway, but the basic idea is that's how they get you. Well, in any case, this peace treaty was horribly beat up in the Senate. They really bruised the Treaty of Versailles. They tore it apart as best as they can. They really beat up this treaty. The poor guy. He had to leave in crutches and his leg was broken. And so Wilson decides, you know what? I'm not even going to hear this. Wilson refuses to compromise. He says, I'm not going to accept this Lodge Amendment. The American people are not going to accept the Lodge Amendment. I refuse to compromise with you, Lodge, and I will show you that the people are on my side. And so he goes and talks to the boss. And who's the boss? The American people. So Wilson goes on a public speaking campaign to try to what? He goes on a public speaking campaign to gain public support for the treaty. So he goes on a public speaking campaign or a public speaking tour to gain support for the treaty. He goes across the country trying to get people saying, look, if you support this treaty, write a letter to your senator saying if you don't sign this or vote for this, we're not going to vote you in power. Call your senator at 15 and tell him you're going to sign this treaty. Call your senator, dial 22, and you can get your senator and tell them, no, we're going to go ahead and sign this treaty. Because back then, phone numbers were like 2 numbers. Call him at 12. He campaigned across the country, folks. And eventually he campaigned so hard that he passes out from exhaustion, and he also has a stroke. He has a stroke from all the pressure. As a result of that, he's pretty weak near the end of his term here. He still has about a year and a half left to finish up, but he's pretty weak at the end of it. So he can't really get any more push for this treaty, but he ultimately does not get what he wants. Something you have to think about is this, folks. I mean, is the League of Nations kind of idealistic? You know, an agency to end all war. I mean, is it too idealistic? It's going to end all war. I mean, is it truly going to end all wars? And I would have to argue that probably not. I mean, you know, people always ask, you know, what's Wilson smoking? Well, he's smoking from the bowl of idealism. And from that bowl of idealism comes the bubble of the League of Nations. And what is inevitably going to happen? It's going to burst. Because it's not going to last. Well, it did burst, folks. And because Wilson refused to compromise, the U.S. fails to ratify the Treaty of Versailles. Again, I should also note, under Wilson's campaign, he believed in all or nothing. It was all or nothing. Either we get all of it the way I want, or we don't ratify it. Well, what happened was that Lodge successfully added the amendment, and so Wilson told all the Democratic senators, don't agree to this treaty. And so, when given the choice of all or nothing, the Republicans and the Democrats chose what? Nothing. They said, fine, if you don't want us to sign it, then we're not going to sign it. And the Treaty of Versailles was not ratified, and the U.S. did not join the League of Nations. And that's pretty critical, because is America a very important piece of the League of Nations? I mean, America was the keystone. They were the thing that was supposed to hold the whole bridge together. And they're no longer a member. That's a problem. Many argued that maybe Henry Cabot Lodge is the one who skinned and killed the peace treaty, but I don't agree with that. I don't believe it was Henry Cabot Lodge's fault. But ultimately, if you have a four-sided table with four legs and one of them falls, what's going to happen to the table? It's going to fall. America was the most powerful leg, and it's gone. A table cannot stand with three legs unless it was made to have three legs. This was not. It was made to have four. It collapses. We got into the debate in the previous class about whether or not a table could have three legs, and the answer obviously is yes, it can.
Is that why you changed it?
Yes, because
Why would you say something I didn't think?
no, a table can stand on three legs provided it's made that way. But it wasn't. It was made to have four. And when the most powerful country decides not to be a member, that's a serious issue. So why did the Treaty of Versailles fail? Well, there's a lot of reasons why the Treaty of Versailles failed, but here, humanity is blaming the U.S. Senate for the death of the treaty. I would disagree with that assessment, though, and many historians would as well. The Treaty of Versailles failed for a number of reasons. The first, they failed because of our history of isolationism. It's just what we did. We were an isolationist country. And so it's not surprising that we might want to go back to that. I mean, have we had a long history of isolationism?
Yes.
Yeah, all the way back to 1796. Way back when, to George Washington. So you might want to throw in farewell address there if you want. But that's really what it came down to. Another reason why it failed is that America was disillusioned with war. I mean, when we first decided to join World War I, we thought this was the war to end all war, and war was going to be romantic. War was going to be gracious and amazing. What we came to realize is that war was none of those things. War was brutal. War was terrible. And what really changed our minds, folks, was this number. Sorry if it's all weird. Erg. 110,000 plus. What's that number? The people that died. People that died. Not just casualties, but the deaths. And what we realized is, do we want more Americans dying? I mean, do I want to send my kids to go fight off in a war in Australia for a war I don't care about? I mean, what did we even gain in this last war? And now we're going to fight in some other random war because those countries can't, work it out? I'm not going to risk any more lives. So the American people said, no, why are we continuing to fight in other people's wars? Not again. We've lost enough. Let's focus on us now. Partisan fighting was another reason why. Partisan fighting means fighting between who? Anyone know? Political parties. Partisan fighting is political parties. Do we still have partisan fighting today? Between political parties? Oh yeah, if you listen quietly, you can hear Republicans and Democrats fighting in Washington. There they are. Always fighting. But partisan fighting, I mean, the Republicans and Democrats just could not get along. But beyond all of that, folks, it is in my estimation that the major reason why the Treaty of Versailles failed was because of President Wilson. He was stubborn. Could he have gotten at least some of what he wanted? Sure, he could have been willing to compromise. But he was so idealistic. He was so focused on believing there was only one way to get this right that he said, my way or nothing. And he didn't really give anyone much wiggle room. He said, you do it my way, or we're not going to do it at all. And so when given that choice, he said, fine, we're not doing it at all. The man who introduced the treaty and wanted it signed the most is the man who killed it. He killed his own treaty because he couldn't get it the way he wanted. That's like you telling your parents, I really want a Porsche. Well, I bought you a BMW. Well, I don't want this. And so you slam the car into the wall. This is not the car I wanted. So no one gets a car. And so you destroyed your own car. Why would you do that? You're being stubborn. Wilson should have been a little bit more open-minded, but near the end, he was just tired, the stroke, exhaustion. He wasn't getting what he was wanted, and he made some bad choices. Let's talk about the significance of World War I. Domestic and then international. When we talk about domestic, folks, we're talking about what? Significance where? In the country, right? In America. National. Domestic. I keep bringing this up, folks, because, again, by the end of the year, I'm afraid that someone's going to be like, what does domestic mean? It means in America. What happened here, in your house? Well, folks, we expanded federal power. Give me an example of how America expanded its power during World War I. What industries or committees did we create to expand federal power? Yeah. Victory Garden, sure, but that was more the American people doing that. What committees maybe did we create? Committee of Public Information, War Industries Board, all those are really good examples of American government taking over the American economy or American society. We improved the economy because we were selling a crap load of what? War bonds, and we were also selling tanks, guns, planes to the British and the French. So the economy got a lot better really quickly. That's a plus for us. Yeah. Why don't we do what? Well, we do say that one of the major ways to pull a country out of war is, pull a country out of a depression is war, but the cost of that is also pretty great. I mean, do we want to be a warring country? I mean, there are social and moral implications to being a country that tries to fix its economy only through war. The reason why our economy improved is not because we expanded federal powers, it's because we went to war. And so when we expanded federal powers, we took over all these industries to make them war industries. But it's also not very efficient. If the US government said, you're going to go ahead and make this many tanks and this many cars and this many guns, you also need someone to buy it. And so that's the problem. Also, I mean, it's almost communism, and communism didn't pan out.
Because no one did it, no one did it right.
What?
All the steps.
Yeah, no one has been able to have a successful communist country because we forget the really, really important problem with communism is that mankind is inherently greedy. It's true. I mean, if you're going to say that doctors and Burger King employees and garbage collectors and teachers are going to get paid exactly the same amount, I don't see that being realistic. The doctor is going to say, I deserve to get paid more than at least the teacher. The teacher's going to say, well, I get to get paid more, at least more than the Burger King employee. Huh? But again, that's the thing, is that's not going to, we're inherently greedy people. You know, it takes a lot of us to not be not greedy. Restriction of civil rights, obviously. What are some examples of restricting civil rights? Espionage Act, Sedition Act, Shank. So, Shank. Enfranchisement for women. What does that mean? What does enfranchisement mean? When we gave women the franchise. Vanessa, what is franchise? The vote. Guys, franchise? I know you're thinking like McDonald's? No. I understand that that's a similar... Yes. But even then, the franchise is still the same thing. But I understand they're similar words, or they're exactly the same word, but they mean two different things. The franchise that McDonald's has, like you buy a franchise, versus the franchise. The franchise is the right to vote. It's the same as suffrage. So when you see franchise, suffrage, it both means the vote. Don't forget that. I had several people ask that already. Don't worry about irreconcilables and reservationists. We already have them. Let's talk about international. International. One of the benefits is that we went from being a debtor nation to a creditor nation. And specifically, we became a creditor nation to France and England. Which means what? Yeah, we started selling them stuff, and they had to pay us back, and we started making money off of interest. I mean, we're a world power that lends stuff to England and France. That's pretty good. We're like the JP Morgan of the world. Can you imagine America has to compare itself to JP Morgan and not the other way around? We're just like JP Morgan now. We're loading money to other countries. America's coming up. America wishes to one day grow up to be JP Morgan. I like to think. When America dreams at night, I wish I could become JP Morgan. We did fail to join the League of Nations, which is a shame. We also failed the 14 points. Now, the next few are going to be in the 14 points. They are 14 points. So you can choose to rewrite them or just generally just know that we failed in the 14 points. It's up to you. But we did become a world power. Let's put that in, though. We became the #1 world power, which is pretty cool. We did fail to end all wars. How do we know? World War II. We did fail to make the world safe for democracy. Again, World War II. We failed to decolonize. Problem. We failed to guarantee freedom of the seas. We failed to protect neutrality. Sir?
Is that the #1 world power?
Militarily, yeah. China's creeping up. It doesn't mean that we'll go to war with China, though. The hard part is that because China and the U.S. economy are so intertwined, if we stop buying from China, that means Chinese economic growth is going to decline, which means they're just going all that progress they made is going to go down the drain. So it's a good thing that we trade so much with China because their economy is so dependent on us, but it's the same the other way around too.
But I think
They say they're communists, and yes, their party is communist, but their government is way more capitalistic than we are. Like, they have such a free market economy that, they have, like, terrible poisons in their food, and, like, the stuff they sell us is, like, lead. Whereas, can you do that in America? No, because it's regulated. That's more communist, where a government gets involved, than in China, where because there's such a big country that there's no regulations. That's capitalism. Where China can do whatever they want, they can just make fake products all the time. There's no regulation there. That's capitalism. But they call themselves communists. They call themselves communists to make the people happy. Politically or economically, they're not a capitalist country or a communist country. They're more capitalist than we are. We're more communist than they are. If you look at our economy. Because government we have a government, we have welfare, right? If people are poor, do we help them? Do you do that in China? Not really. You're poor. End of story. Aaron, question? Will we ever become a true capitalist country? It's possible. I mean, it's not something that we can't do. We just have to get rid of a lot of reform. First off, if you want to be a true capitalist country, no public education. You have to pay to go to school. This is communism, if you think about it, or socialism at least. Anyway, folks, last slide. To what extent did the United States achieve the objectives that led it to World War I? So write down the question, folks. To what extent did the United States achieve the objectives or the goals that led it to World War I? Then once you're done writing down the question, look through your notes and find the section called Why Did We Enter the War, or America's Moral Crusade. I previously gave you a list of reasons why we entered the war. It's in the same area as Wilson's War Declaration. So once you're done writing down this question, find that section. I'm going to call on some people to tell me why we went to war. So again, it's under Wilson's War Declaration, or Why Did We Enter the War. There should be a list of reasons why we went to war there. And I'll call on a few people to give me a list of reasons why we went to war. Ready? Again, it's right after Wilson's War Declaration. Should be a section called Why Did America Enter the War, or Why Did We Enter the War, or Americans' Moral Crusade. You guys find that section? Okay, let me call a few people. Pretty much we're just going to go through that list. Remember there was the 5 that I told you that you guys definitely have to know? Yeah, what are we fighting for? It's under America's Moral Crusade also. All right, so let me call in a few people here. Let's go with Joey.
I wasn't here.
No está aquí. Joshua. Yeah, so first off, the right, oh my gosh, writing on this is such a pain. The right is more precious than peace. So I'm going to go ahead and just use math there. Right is greater than peace. Abbreviation. Right is more precious than peace. That's the first reason why we went to war. Why else did we go to war? Catherine. War to end all wars. We want this to be the war to end all wars. I'm going to put end all wars. And if my penmanship is much worse than normal, I apologize. I need to get a new pen. Vanessa, what else? World is safe for democracy. So, safe for democracy. Why else are we going to war? Jose. Oh, he left. Jessica's not here. Brittany. Why else are we going to war? A violation of international law. They broke international law. So, violation of international law. I'm just going to write down international law. International law broken. International law broken. Vivian, what else? Why else are we going to war? Sure. Zimmerman note. Yeah, we're going to war because of the Zimmerman note. Oh my gosh, this pen. International law broken. You know what? We're going to do this a different way. I'm just going to type. See what happens when technology does not go your way. What were the things that we wrote before? Oh, right is greater than peace. What else? End all wars. Oh, safe for democracy. Violation. What else? Ah, we did have freedom of the seas. Freedom of the seas, yeah, that's a good one. What else? Let's go with Paula. Defend human rights, sure. Defend human rights. Jasmine. Why else are we going to war? Yeah, we defend our neutrality, right? We got to fight for our neutrality. Neutrality. Jose Cervantes. Defend our trade, sure. Gotta defend und trade. Susie's not here. Gabriel's not here. Joanna. Oh, we have that already. What about right above the Zimmerman note? No, we have freedom of the seas. Aaron. The Lusitania, the Arabic. Ah, okay, and the Sussex. Got it. Okay, so those are good. And so that's pretty much that list. And then I want you guys to go to the 14 points list and see what else were the other goals. So go flip to the 14 points now and see what else did Wilson want. So, yeah, Aaron. Definitely peace without victory. He wanted that as well. What else did Wilson want? Paula. No secret alliances. Yeah, he wanted 14 points, but that... But what else? What else did he want? Yeah, Myra. Decolonization and self-government. And we could probably have one more here. What's the last one? Vivian? League of Nations. Okay, so this is a pretty good list of reasons why we went to war, right? We had some earlier reasons why, and then we had Wilson's hopes for the end of the war as well. So, the question now is not, tell me why we went to war. The question is, to what extent did we what? Achieve it. So, we're going to grade this again, like we did last time. We're going to put a grade next to it, A, B, C, D, F. Usually it's going to be an A or an F, depending on how we did. Did we fight for our rights? Yeah, we did. So, I would say you give that an A. We fought for our rights. We weren't just willing to lay down. Did we end all wars? F. How do you know? World War II. Did we make the world safe for democracy? Oh, World War II. WW2. Did we get revenge for Germany violating international law? Yeah, so you give it an A. See, let me just expand this here. They beat Germany. Did we get revenge for the Zimmerman note? Yeah, so we beat Germany again. Germany. Did we get freedom of the seas? No. Did we defend human rights? Yeah, we defended human rights. I mean, we fought in the war and we beat Germany. Did we get our neutrality? And did we successfully gain neutrality rights for people? Not so much. Were we able to defend our trade? Yeah, we fought for our trade. Give that an A. Did we successfully kind of get revenge for the Lusitania, Arabic, and Sussex? Yeah, we beat Germany. Did we get peace without victory? No. How do we know? Well, yeah, Germany lost, but how? War guilt and war reparations. And decolonization. Yeah, I mean, we can also say he didn't get any of the 14 points. No secret alliances. Did we get that? Yeah, we did. Everyone's part of the League of Nations. Open alliances. So yeah, League of Nations is a really good reason. League of Nations. Did we get the 14 points? Did we get any of those things? One, and then it failed. So let's say C. Because he got the League of Nations, but it failed. Decolonization, did we get that? Did we decolonize? No, not really. So let's give that an F. And how do we know that it failed? Yeah, so France and England have it through the mandate system, right? So England and France. What has happened? And lastly, League of Nations, did we get that? We got it, but was it successful? No, we're going to give that a C because, well, we got it, but America was not a member, and it failed. It was a loser. Good? Good. So again, you can write this essay, right? Just remember all the stuff and be like, why did we go to war and did we get it? And usually the answer should be what? To what extent did the United States achieve the objectives that led it to the war? How many of you would answer that to a large extent we achieved our goals? Anyone? No one? Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. Not to a large extent at all. What about to some extent? You guys would be like, oh, to some extent. Okay, maybe to some extent we kind of did, sure. And what about like to a small extent? I mean, to a small extent, yeah, I think to a small extent is also a good answer. Small or some. You can't say most or yes. Yes is not the correct answer to this question. Or mostly. The answer is maybe, a little bit. Because there was a lot of failures here. So that's end of content. Any questions about any of this here? None? Cool. So that's that. And next up, we're going to go ahead and do something else.